Hi again. I don't know how this is going to go because I'm going to try to be more impromptu. But we had been talking about the shunning issue, and I wanted to talk about now the consequences to having a shunning policy.
Shunning being a red flag.
Shunning should have been, lights going,
Red, yellow, purple, black, all of the above.
the sirens going, because it produces trauma, depression, perhaps suicide, it would seem. And it was called, and still is at this point, a loving provision.
A loving arrangement.
Thanks. Loving arrangement. I don't see it. No loving about it.
Oh, wait.
So, the fact is the elders make up their own rules. Yes, they have this hidden book, and we get back to the word secretive, and it's a very strange arrangement. And so therefore it needed to be talked about, but it's not a loving arrangement. It produces fear instead of love. And Allie, I want you to tell that illustration you heard the Spanish CO give about how shunning is like. Oh, you switched.
So I want to say that the year was around 2018. Or 2017. I was physically in, mentally out, because I was trying to plant seeds with my friends and share the gospel of Jesus with people instead of Watchtower. It was the Circuit Overseer Week. It was the Spanish congregation, and I'll never forget this absurd illustration. And he was trying to illustrate how shunning a disfellowshipped person is loving, like how when a person who is flatlined, because when you've sinned, you've flatlined spiritually. So in a hospital, someone's flatlined and they need to be resuscitated and given an electric shock to restart their heart. So he was likening shunning to restarting the heart of a unrepentant sinner. And then he said to the audience the question, what do they say when they're about to deliver the shock? Clear, and everybody has to back up from the person. No one's allowed to touch them so they can deliver the electric shock. Likewise, when our loved one is disfellowship, we need to listen to the counsel from the slave and clear so that they can get this life-saving shock from Jehovah. And I remember I was sitting in the last row fuming and just shaking my head like, this is disgusting. And it was around that time when I was like, I cannot keep going to these meetings where they deliver poison. But that was one of the worst illustrations I've ever heard. Also, the illustration is pathetic because if they really applied it literally to what they do in a hospital to save a person's life with an electric shock, the doctors, the nursing staff, and everyone would just walk out of the room for 6 months and then come back to see if the person was still alive. Like, it does not compute.
So that might be as much as we need to say about shunning. But it really is something fearful, because I remember when Allie was disfellowshipped in her early 20s, and we met unexpectedly in a grocery store, and I was so happy to see her, but I'm looking at the end of each aisle. Is a witness going to see us talking together? That's fear, that's control, and that is not Jesus.